This terrible incident happened to me in 2013, when I was 19 years old. I was studying in college and working part-time jobs to deal with my expenses. It was midwinter, and I was working my very first well-paying job. I used to work there part-time, and the owner was paying me well. Before the gas station job, I had done a bunch of low-paying jobs or tasks like cleaning up the bars or restaurants after they got closed, and as a bouncer as well. But I was really proud of myself as I was working very hard as a student at the time. Usually, they had 3 shifts at the store of the gas station: the day shift, the evening shift, and the night shift, which was pretty normal as every gas station owner kept their mail store open at night. There was usually a supervisor at the store during the day, evening, and night shifts, whose job was to manage everything at the store. My job was to supervise and manage all things during the day and evening shifts with my co-workers, and I had never worked the night shift at the gas station before. There was a guy whose name was Jack, and he used to work at the store during the night shift, until one day in the evening, Jack came to me and told me about his grandfather who had died due to a heart attack and needed to go home immediately. He offered me a good amount of money and a day off for doing the night shift on his behalf. At first I refused, because I was exhausted and hadn't slept for the last 2 nights, but when Jack explained his situation to me and handed me over the cash for staying at the gas station during the night shift, I couldn't refuse him. It was a good amount of money at the time, and I needed it most, and I was pretty excited about a day off, so I agreed after some hesitation. I went inside the store and told my coworker that I would take a short nap in the back office so I could stay awake during the night shift. After that, I went inside the back office and fell asleep immediately after laying my head on the table. At 9 p.m. my coworker knocked on the back office door and told me to wake up so I could close the store because her shift was over and she was ready to go back home. When working during the night shift, I was instructed to go to the front door and lock it down, and after that, turn off all the lights and deal with the customers out the window from the little box so people could put their cash or cards through it after getting their few items from the store. I did as I was instructed by the owner, and this was quite helpful during the night shift, especially for the staff's safety from the drunk people who would otherwise break everything in the store if we let them enter during the night. I had 5 customers who came to me for gas refilling in their cars and to buy some medicine or snacks for them. Most of them were truck drivers who usually came to a gas station at night to stay for a while and need some snacks. After some time, almost 5 to 6 minutes passed, and the gas station had been totally empty since the truck drivers had left. I was sitting inside the store when I saw a middle-aged man parked his car in front of the gas station, and he came out of his car and started walking towards me. It seemed pretty normal to me, and I thought he would just come and pay me for the gas refilling and would leave after buying some snacks from the store. But it was not as simple as I thought. He stopped at a distance a few steps from the store's window, and he was continuously staring and gazing at me as if he knew me before or had met me somewhere. But I didn't know him at all, and I hadn't seen him before. I came out of the store and asked him if he wanted to buy something. "Hey mate, how can I help you?" I said. "Who are you, and where is Jack?" He groaned in a drunken voice, and at that time, I knew that he was some other drunk idiot who just came to the gas station to waste my time. So I ignored him and went back inside the store. But he followed me and came close to the window. He asked me about Jack, and I told him about his grandfather's death, to which he laughed, and told me to get him some snacks from the store. I asked him if he needed something else, to which he replied that he wanted to refill his gas tank in his car. I went inside the store to grab some snacks for him, and it had been 10 minutes since he was refilling his tank. At this point, I started to get worried about him. I thought that he was still pumping the gas because the pump never gave the beep to stop. So I looked outside of the small window and got shivers after I saw that the guy was thoroughly wet in what I assumed was the gas. He was still giving me a creepy smile, and I ran to the register to hit the emergency button to stop the pump. And when I returned to the window, I saw that he had pulled out the lighter from his pocket. He was trying to light it, and was continuously yelling at me, "Call Jack and tell him to return my money, or I will blow this entire gas station with me." Luckily, I immediately called the cops and fire barrage, and he failed to start his Zippo lighter. After almost 2 minutes, police arrived, and cops yelled at him to put the lighter on the ground, but he didn't listen to them, and after trying several times, he lit himself up on fire and fell to the ground. The cops immediately got a fire extinguisher and put out the flames. The next day, I heard that the guy died from severe burns. I told the owner everything the next day and quit my job right after that. I still remember the smell of the burnt skin of the guy whenever I think about it, and I always wonder what the money he gave to Jack was for, and what would have happened if he had blown up the entire gas station with him. It was 2017, and I was 22 when this bizarre and creepy incident happened to me. I was studying in college and pursuing my passion for music. My college mates and I had great enthusiasm for music back then. At first, I used to play guitar with my friends in the streets or at a bus station. One day when my friends and I were playing music at the bus station after class, we were offered a job as musicians in a cafe, directly by the owner of the cafe. It was a night shift job, and we had a lot of fun because it was a small cafe that people used to sit there and listen and enjoy music all the time. Most of them used to give us tips as well, so it was a really good job all around. But there were two problems that we were facing during our time there. The first problem was that it was a night job. We were really struggling with our college attendance during that time because we used to get home at 1 a.m. in the morning after our shifts and could barely wake up in the morning for our classes. The second problem was that the cafe where we used to play the music at night was too far away from where we used to live. The cafe was located in a local town and it was about 4 miles away from the city, but luckily my friend had a car in which we used to get there. Despite all problems and obstacles, we managed to study with our jobs, and we were really proud of the fact that we were pursuing our dreams and we were working really hard at the same time. As I mentioned earlier, music was our passion. As students, we also needed money back then to bear with our finances, so as long as we were getting paid for our passion and we were enjoying the job, it did not bother us too much that we would think about resigning from our job. Everything was on track until one day when my friend Liam and I were playing music in the cafe. We were so busy playing music that we did not even look at the time, and didn't notice that it was getting late, and after finishing our set, we looked at the clock on the wall, and we were shocked to see that it was 4 a.m., and the owner told us to go home as he was closing the cafe. We packed our guitars and got in Liam's car. We knew that if we fell asleep, we could not make it in our college in the morning. That's precisely when Liam came up with the idea of buying energy drinks so we could stay awake until the morning. We started looking for stores that could be open but could not find any on the highway. I was driving the car, and Liam yelled at me to stop the car at a nearby gas station to grab some energy drinks, and I did just that. I stopped my car at the gas station. Fortunately, the store was open. When we stopped the car, we noticed someone walking towards our car slowly behind the gas station wall. We got out of the car, and a middle-aged man with a grown beard came near us. We assumed that he must be some drunk guy asking for change, but before he could say a word to us, we ignored him and went inside the store. We grabbed 4 cans of our favorite energy drink and paid for them at the cashier. At that point, we forgot about that guy as we were exhausted after a long night shift. But when we got close to our car, we noticed that the same guy was coming toward us again, and we were fool enough to let him come near us so we could ask him what he wanted. And as he got near the car, he asked me, "Hey, do you have some change?" I just wanted to get rid of him as soon as possible, so I nodded yes and told him to give me a minute to dig out some for him. At that point, Liam had already sat in the car, and I leaned down to grab my wallet from the compartment when all of a sudden I heard that someone had opened the back door of the car. When I tried to turn back, he grabbed my hair and pulled me down, and then I felt a sharp knife over my neck when he yelled at us, "One of you try and scream or yell, and I will slit his throat." Liam and I nodded our heads in yes. He then told me to drive without looking back at him, and I started driving the car. He started giving me instructions regarding the place where he wanted to take us. Liam and I did not know the place he was talking about, but we knew we would not come out alive from that place. All I knew was that I had to do something to save our lives. After some time driving on the highway, he told me to exit into the streets, and I did exactly what he said. After getting onto the nearest street, I saw that there was a police car at the street's corner, and the guy told me to cross them without doing anything stupid or attempting to escape him, or he would kill both of us. But at that point, I knew this was our only chance, so I sped up my car by pressing on the accelerator, and then I closed my eyes and crashed the car into the wall. And after all that, all I remember was the airbags that were opened after getting crashed. The cops ran towards our car, and that man opened the door and he started running. When the cops asked us about what had happened, all I was able to say was, "Don't let him go." But it was too late, and the man had already disappeared in the dark. Luckily I was saved, but I still remember that psychopath's face, and I don't know what would have happened to us that day if I didn't crash the car. It was 2018 when this terrible incident happened to me and my family. I was living a happy life with my wife, Julia, and my son named John. It was winter season, and our son had his winter break. We wanted to take him on an adventure, so we planned this trip to a frozen lake that was located 200 miles away from home. We both were working jobs in different sectors to bear with our finances, and we were working really hard to secure the future of our son. For going on a trip, money was not a problem for us, but there was a problem. And that was that we weren't getting 2 days leave at the same time from our jobs, and the Christmas holidays were not near as it was the month of November when we planned this trip. I actually got the 2 days off from work, but it was Julia who was struggling with it. So we postponed our plan to the next month and decided to go on a trip during the Christmas holidays. But luckily, after insisting on her boss, Julie got her 2 days leave from her job, and I was happy to hear it. We immediately started planning for our trip, and we decided to stay there for 1 day so we could travel around to see more things. I opened up my laptop and booked us a hotel for 1 day and night so that we could rest after a long road trip. We could then visit the famous frozen lake there after taking a short nap in the hotel room. So we decided to start our journey during the night so we could reach our destination by the morning and could enjoy the heartwarming views in the daylight. We instantly started packing the essential and vital stuff like some warm clothes and snacks to eat during the trip, and water bottles, of course. As I mentioned earlier, the frozen lake was 200 miles away from the place where we used to live, so we decided that I would drive the car for 100 miles, and after that, Julia would drive another 100 miles. The following night at midnight, we started our trip, and after driving without stopping, we arrived on a highway and I noticed that the gas in my car was getting low. So I started looking for a gas station near me, and after searching for some on Google Maps, I was relieved to see that the nearest gas station was just 1 mile ahead of us. So I kept driving, and after 10 minutes, I saw a gas station that had one car parked in the corner, which I assume was the car of the owner of the gas station, or some staff member. I stopped my car and told my wife to fill the gas tank while I went inside the store to buy some coffee for us so that we could stay awake while driving the car. At that point, I totally forgot about the car in the corner. I paid for my gas and coffee and went out of the store, sat in my car, and started driving again. After 15 minutes, when I told my wife to give me a sip of coffee as I was feeling drowsy while driving, I noticed a car appear behind us, which was bizarre because the car's driver was flickering his car lights at me continuously, like he was trying to give me some sort of sign. Before him, the road was totally empty, and it was just my car on the road. After looking at the car for some time, I started to realize that I had seen it before, and then I remembered it was the same car parked at the gas station. The speed of the car was getting faster and faster every minute, and it was getting close to us. My wife, who was worried for our lives, told me not to stop the car and immediately told our son to lie down in the back seat. At that moment, the car was so close to ours that we could clearly see who was sitting inside the car. 2 men with fully grown beards were sitting in the car's front seat. As soon as I looked at them, they opened the window, and a man yelled at me, "Stop the car, or I'll kill you all!" At that time, I knew that we would be robbed, or that they might be some member of a human trafficking gang who wanted to kidnap my wife and son, which I could never let happen in my presence, so I sped up my car. I told my wife to immediately call 911 and tell them about what just happened to us, and she did just that. The police officer told her to stay calm and look for some crowded place to go and stay on the call with them. By the time when she was on the call, the car came near us again, and this time the man pulled out his gun and started threatening me. I was afraid, and my wife told me to stop the car on the roadside. As soon as I stopped the car, they also stopped their car in front of us and told us to come outside. They snatched our cell phones, wallets, and all our cash. After getting all the money, they grabbed my son by the hair. They told me to stay there where I was standing, or he would shoot us all. But fortunately, when he was about to put my son in his car, we heard the police siren, and red and blue lights appeared on the road. They left my son on the road, and they got in their car and went away. When the cops arrived, we told them about what happened to us, and cops started chasing them. But the cops couldn't find them as they had already gone by the time the cops had arrived. It was the most horrific incident that happened to our family, and we abandoned the plan to the frozen lake and returned to our home that same night.